My refrigerator tends to collect leftovers until we have a clean out day. Well, today is shop clean out day because I have leftovers. In this case, I glued up this stave lamination some time ago when I made a travel mug. It's out of red oak. However, with this one, I had a special challenge because it was made out of stair tread risers. And there was one that had a manufactured joint in the middle of the stave that I had cut. And guess what? The glue failed in that joint. It's their fault, not mine. So at this point, I have sawn out that joint and inserted a piece of contrasting wood, I believe it's paduk. So let's make something out of this leftover.
The subtitle for this project probably should be, How do I hold that chunk of wood? Or, how many times do I need to reverse the mount? The first problem is that the stave lamination is too large for my chuck, and I don't want to change jaws and then immediately have to change them back. Instead, I've mounted a piece of scrap wood. I'm rounding the scrap wood, putting a tenon on it, and sizing the end to go into the middle of the stave lamination. My idea is to hold the cylinder only as long as it will take to cut a tenon that will fit my chuck. Hopefully, I can make something of this scrap piece in the future. Now to mount the cylinder. It should work long enough to cut a tenon on the lamination. What a relief! A proper tenon. I'm now mounting the cylinder to my Vicmark VM120 chuck with shark jaws. This will not take much roughing to get it round. I'm starting with a gouge, but once round, I'm switching to a small skew for some good skew practice. I don't want a straight-sided box, so I'm cutting a broad cove with the minimum point about 2/3 up the cylinder. Next, I need to divide the lamination into individual boxes with a continuous grain pattern. A year ago at the Utah Woodturning Symposium, I purchased a Golden Mean protractor. It's a simple device with 3 legs. When the outer 2 legs are at the top and bottom of a section, the middle leg marks the golden mean, which is about 2/3. I decided 3 boxes would be appropriate, then marked out the sections and parted them off. I had hoped the tailstock would catch the offcuts, but that was not to be. I had to chase them down. I now need to measure the chuck's capacity for an expansion hold. I'll start hollowing by marking out the expansion hold on the top side of the lower box with a parting tool. But for serious work, I'm switching to a square carbide cutter for hollowing. The 3 boxes will need about the same treatment. Hollow the inside, cut a mortise in the top for current and/or future mounting, cut a mortise on the bottom that will receive the bottom, and sand the interior up through 220 grit. Fortunately, the initial mount for each box is with deep shark jaws. This is great while hollowing the inside and cutting the initial mortise, starting with the large bottom box and working in effect up the stack of boxes. Now for the tops and bottoms for the boxes. I cut 4 pieces of solid oak for this purpose. Each I first mounted to the face of the chuck jaws, held only by the tailstock. This works for rounding and while cutting the first tenon or mortise. For the top and bottom, I cut a mortise for an expansion hold. After a couple, I decided to quickly cut a temporary tenon just after rounding. Then I could more easily cut a tenon on the other side to fit the bottom of the current box. Then reverse the mount to cut a tenon to situate the upper box as a lid for the lower box. One difficulty I faced was how to cut back the wood against which the jaws are holding. To go through that wood would severely damage both my tool and the jaws. The solution was to cut a small groove on the side of the tenon going into the bottom of the box that would be hidden once glued to the bottom. This tiny groove was sufficient for my dovetail jobs to grab and provide a little space to remove the excess wood. This is hard to explain, but was a breakthrough for me. This works for dovetail jaws. If you have straight jaws, you're out of luck and should add a set to your wish list. There was a lot of cut, test the fit, and cut again to fit all these tenons into the top and bottom of each box. With the sides, tops, and bottoms finished, I can glue the bottoms into the sides and let the glue dry. While the glue dried, I decorated the top lid using the infinite axis chuck. I'll show that work in next week's video. Finally, it's time to do the final cuts on the exterior. I want to stack up all the boxes to have a continuous curve across all 3 boxes. However, I don't have a way to stack up all the boxes and have tailstock pressure. The solution is to cut a temporary top with yet another tenon. I will not mind a live center divot in this piece. Then mount it all together, take the finishing cuts, and sand. Off camera, I signed the bottom box and applied walnut oil. Now some of my shop leftovers are used up, and I have a nice stacking set of boxes to show for it. I learned a lot from my mistakes in this process. Fortunately, these mistakes were small. I can do better next time I make stacking boxes from a stave lamination. Next week, I'll show turning the top with the infinite axis chuck. It will be a sampler of off-axis decorations. My wife really likes it, but you gotta wait until next week to see more. With that, we'll see you again next week with another wood turning video. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and tell your friends. Always wear your full face shield. Goggles are not enough. Then keep on turning. Until next week, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.